I will call this meeting to order at 6:38. And the first item of business is the public information hearing on the official town meeting articles, wherein we will go through briefly, or unless there are questions from any citizens, we'll actually spend as much time as you need.
I don't know if you folks can hear me, but right now there's no signal and no noise in the Zoom meeting that I can hear anyways.
Hi, Peter. This is Wendy. I can hear you.
Can you see it on the screen?
I don't see John's screen anymore. It's black. Oh, now there's something going on, but I can't hear anything. MMC TV says no audio outside of MMCT monitoring audio. Does anyone else on Zoom have audio?
I have audio just of you. I can't hear anything in the meeting.
Okay.
Oh, there we are.
We're back. We can see you and hear you.
What the heck just happened? I don't know what happened. That's wacky. You can hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Did you hear us call the meeting to order? I mean, I guess we don't know where we left you off.
Yeah, we heard. Yeah, meeting was called to order, then it cut out.
Weird. Okay. That was.
Okay, let's
Don't touch
proceed.
anything. We'll I know.
I got the links, guys, but my computer still is not letting me in, and my iPad is down to 7%. So.
Okay.
Okay, so we are beginning the public informational hearing on the official town meeting articles.
Hey, can
Madam
you hear me?
Chair,
Yes, we can.
We can, Catherine.
do you
I'm
want
gonna
to take over?
Oh, good. It looks like it's finally connecting on the computer. But because I only got 6% on the iPad and I didn't want to do it on that. But it says it's connecting now. I have no idea. I started 20 minutes ago and it wouldn't take that Zoom. Finally, I tried Maps and it wanted me to download Zoom. And then I tried yours and it's saying it's connecting, hopefully.
I just admitted you.
Yep, we just admitted you.
Okay, are you going to run the meeting?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, good. Here we go. Join with computer audio.
Recording in progress.
Unmute. Unmute.
We muted our iPad.
Catherine, you still there?
Yeah, I'm trying to get on the computer. Okay. Okay, I left the one and I should be on this one, right?
Perfect.
Oh, I apologize, everyone. The Zoom seems to sometimes do its own thing. I had a great meeting last night, no blinks, no nothing with the RPC, but this one, it seems to think I wasn't here.
Well, you mostly just missed our Zoom problems here in the office, so.
Oh, that's good. Anyway, thank you, Wayne, for trying to start without me. I appreciate that. But this is public informational hearing on the official town meeting articles. And basically, it is required to go over the town meeting articles within a 10-day frame before the town meeting, just to review what is on the warning itself. And so we will go through the articles one by one, just some will be very brief and others will be a little longer, particularly like Article 1. We will do a brief overview. Budget, but it says, shall the voters approve the proposed fiscal year ending 2024 budget of $3,382,480, including spending unanticipated funds such as state and federal grants and gifts. And so we'll go over the budget and get my drafts in front of me. Got too many pieces of paper right now. But anyway, do you know that was a really tiny print on the draft? So I'm going to use the other one because it had a higher resolution of. Well, actually, I did. Well,
I think we are, as a way of going through the warning.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Unfortunately, I only have the little tiny one here. Basically, we anticipate requiring property taxes of 3 million. Oh boy, 3 million. Oh no, excuse me. The total budget is this 2,913,030. This is really tiny print. This is great, but basically that's a 3.5% increase from 2023's budget. The penalties and fees are a minor part of the budget. The intergovernmental is we have expecting, our state aid for roads to be 770,000 this year, and which is a $30,000 increase. So,
Madam Chair, I just wanted to insert that we are on page 12 of the town report. If
okay.
anybody's trying to follow along.
Oh, that's a great idea. You can do that because I was trying to do the insert what was in the packet, but it is a very tiny print. So that is surprising me. So anyway, so people, hey, that's a good idea. I should have used the town report. So a lot bigger print. Licenses and fees, we expect to bring in 131,850. The miscellaneous is minor, it's 18,000. But that does include $12,000 from our solar field for the lease of the property. And that gives us a total of $3,382,480 in total revenue. And then Wayne, if you want to talk about the expenditures.
Yes, so now I'm on page 13, line 100, where it starts salaries. And there you'll see the town treasurer department, that is one full-time employee and one part-time employee. And you'll see the increase there in the salaries on line 100 is reflecting a realignment of the salaries that were offered for this position, which we had talked about the year before. But anyway, that's what that jump is. And the benefit is just a slight change. Then we go down to the administrative and select board. And there you'll see salaries gone up 7.8%. As anybody who's familiar with our last couple of years, has been tremendous upward pressure all over the economy for salaries to be adjusted, I guess, if you will. There you see the benefits gone down on line 107. Just call your attention to line 10, computer support and repairs gone up quite a bit, but we have a new firm that is handling our security, as well as we had some very clunky equipment in the closet, if you remember peeking in the closet when you were here for a meeting. So a lot of that's been upgraded. So we're in good shape, including, I just want to mention the computer equipment and the security has to do with, we have financial transactions that we do, of course, electronically, and the security, and that's been beefed up just a little bit. Town clerk, you'll see not so much of a change in salary line, but in benefits. And if you recall, there's been a change in personnel in as far as who's helping town clerk. And I think as a result of some of those personnel changes, the benefits have been changed a little bit. Board and elections, hallelujah, they're down. We're not running one of those right now. And then we go on to listing. That's Lori, Terry, and Martha Prince. That's their department. And you'll see there's some salary adjustments there, but health officer, no news for the amount of work that Richard's provided us. We're really lucky to have him. Planning and zoning, line 139, the bottom of page 13. That is Linda and Chris are in that department. If you've ever gone upstairs, that's where they work. You'll see a benefit change that went down. The legal expenses have increased substantially because, I'm sorry I neglected to mention it, but on line 109, back on page 13, under Administrator and Select Board is a line called Legal Expense. That was pretty much split in half, although it gained, I think, another 2,000. But that expense was split between the Administrator Department and the Planning Zoning to more accurately reflect where those expenses are incurring. So now we're back on page 14, finishing up that Planning and Zoning. You'll see purchase services. We have some consultants that we use, some imagery mapping we've been involved with, as well as the town plan, and some of those expenses right there are related to that. Catherine will now take highways and bridges. Catherine, can you hear me?
You're on mute, Catherine.
I got you.
Okay.
Got you. Forgot to unmute. I'm careful tonight because of that. The salaries and overtime have gone up for the town highway department, mostly because we needed to increase salaries to be competitive for CDL drivers. The competition is fierce and it's very difficult to get them. And it's simply our original salaries were simply not enough. And we still are down, I believe, one employee at the school.
Yep.
The benefits, of course, reflect the increase as well because of the different plans that people have. But basically, the building maintenance and repairs, that's gone up $15,000 because the building is in tough shape. We're hopeful to start thinking about a new garage sometime in the future, because it doesn't, the equipment is much larger and more expensive, and as is the small hand tools and things like that. So we really want to protect those. Another jump is in hired equipment because people are, we have to hire to mow and to do our sidewalks plowing in the winter. And both those go up because all those are dependent on fuel as well. Summer roads, gravel, stone, that has gone up 10,000. And again, everybody's needs gravel, competition again, and the cost of delivery or picking it up also goes up. The winter sand is expensive. Salt, it's gotten to be extraordinarily expensive. It's now we're budgeting $130,000. And that's partly because of the kind of winters we're having. It's much more ice and sleet rather than just snow. And you're going to need sand to make our roads safe. Salt alternatives, unfortunately, as much as people would like to see them, they've tried several different kinds and it has not worked. The road improvement, the only major work that is going to be done out of operations this year is the paving of Skunk Hollow, and that will take all of the $295,000 budgeted. Bridge improvements, no work is being done, budgeted this year, although Agency of Transportation is starting preliminary work on Bridge 15. They were there the other day doing some kind of assessment. The other aspects have not gone up very much, but the total highway and bridges has gone up from to $1,552,517, which is an increase of almost 9%. And then summer rec to Wayne.
Do I do summer rec?
No, you're doing right after that.
Okay.
Just as an FYI, the highway crew, Adam, Roger, Felix, Bob, and Fletcher, we are grateful for their work. Now, under the summer rec program, by Lynn Wagner, she's been here for quite a long time, helping kids. The program served 240 elementary school kids, 127 middle school kids. If you divide our expenses by the number of kids, we are about $99 a kid. The town of Jericho is helping to make this program happen. But you'll see there are line items here for salaries. It's not just Lynn's salary, but there are counselors, counselors in training, I think, too. I think those are the youngest ones. And then you'll see some minor program materials. We have one of the least expensive rec programs in the county. So that's it for summer rec.
Okay, that brings us to insurances. No change in insurances. Next line, the next section is public health and safety. You've probably seen a lot of, seen or heard or read a lot about the increase from the Essex Rescue. So that's reflected in this section. That is an increase of $30,000 from last year, which was an increase of $30,000 from the year before. So that section goes from about $200,000 last year to $231,000 rescued for this year. Buildings and property maintenance, nothing too exciting there. Very similar to last year, 109,000 last year, 113,000 this year. Jericho conservation. I do want to back up. I'm sorry. I sped through police services.
Yeah. And these are the breakouts that Amy gave me.
Yeah, thank you. And I saw some interesting commentary on Front Porch Forum about this. And so we did want to point out that on police services, we have a line item of $140,000 on there. We would like to just call to attention that includes $16,987 for state police and $115,472 for sheriff services. So that is bundled into that one line. Both of those services are.
And then the revenue thing back here too. We always like to mention
Oh, gosh.
the fines.
Yep.
This offsets the cost.
Well, the other thing to
So
mention
back on
is-
line, what line was that, 16?
Yes.
So line 16, let me flip back. Line 16 is under income, and so we have $35,000 of income to offset some of that 140,000. So it's really a net of 100 and, oh gosh.
And Eric, I don't know if we have it available at the moment, but for town meeting, it would be useful is to have the per hour hourly costs, because the sheriff's per hourly cost is significantly lower for 40, and they provide services for 40 hours a week, where this state police is much more on an hourly basis, and they provide up to 10 hours a week of
Okay.
and it all.
That is, yeah, that is broken out, I believe, in the budget overview that I forwarded earlier today. I'll go back and make sure.
Okay, thanks. All right, sorry about skipping over that. I had intended to cover that. Building and property maintenance, not much. Jericho conservation and public use. We had 17,000 last year, 24,200 this year. You'll notice a little bit of movement around between the lines. That was just to more accurately reflect where some of that money's going, and to let some of those committees that are in charge of those budgets, give them a little more visibility into what they had and what others had, whereas before we had combined a few. So we hope that brings a little more transparency, and maybe needs a little more in the future even. So $24,000 there. Jericho Center Library is 99,000, up from 91,000 last year. And then we get into mandated. Not a lot to talk about there because it is mandated, but 79,000 last year to 85,000 this year. And then non-mandated, there's a bunch there. That was 179,000 last year and 191,000 total this year. Nothing particularly notable in there that's worth mentioning though. How far do I go, Wayne?
This is it.
Okay.
Now it's Catherine.
Yeah, and what we're looking at now is what is new what was new last year and is still probably unfamiliar to people, where we have broken out the cost of various items, capital improvements, the heavy equipment, and then also with the cost, there's also how we have paid for them. This year, there is no, as of last year or FY23, the one we're in, there is no heavy equipment trucks because the time delivery is so far out. We ordered them 2 years ago, what the truck that was needed. We have the net cash outlay for capital improvements. There's no expected use of that category this year. What we've also done is under debt service. I believe that's line 142, no, 242 on this sheet that I have, but it may be different. We have also bundled all the interest payments because it's part of the new category of for government GASB rules, where the lease is considered a debt as well, and then the equipment is considered an asset. So all the interest of the debt is now accumulated between the equipment and the town hall, and that's at 16,924 for fiscal year 24. And then the principal payments for the equipment and town hall come to 156,320 for a total of 173,244 in the debt service. We have there are some transfers to from reserve funds. We're taking $50,000 of road impact fees to add to the operating budget for the highway. We're going to transfer an additional 35,000 for reappraisal fund from the 17,500 from the year before, because we are anticipating by 2025, I believe it is, to have a need for an appraisal. And we need to have, the funding in the reserve funds to pay for that. So our total expenditures net with the fund activity is again $3,382,480. And what we also see on the that is new, that started last year, is that we are acting as pass-throughs essentially for the Underhill Jericho Fire Department. They have their budget, which has been approved, of $520,672. And we are very fortunate that Matt Champlin is a Jericho resident and he gets to present this because that is a separate Article 2 on the town warning. And then the Deborah Rawson Library is its own municipality and it has passed its budget over to us at 180,000, excuse me, 799. And then we have 3 separate reserve accounts that are based on the grand list because they're based on the millage, and it's the Old Red Mill, the Conservation Fund, 2 of them, excuse me, and then the total collections then is $701,471. And then we show the remittances for $701,471. So then we move on to, and that's any questions on the budget then before we move on to Article 2 to at least tell you what it is? I don't see.
Is the town report on the website? I can only find the 2021 town report.
It was mailed.
But we got one mailed here, but it wasn't. Never mind. Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, Peter. We were asking for questions anyway, and there has been a discussion because Bernie Paquette has also brought this up to put the digital version of the report and budgets and things like that on the website for those that are much more digitally inclined.
Catherine, Tom has a question. Tom is here with us.
Okay.
Tom Barbo.
All right, Tom.
Thanks for letting me interrupt the flow.
rhetorical question at this point. How much would it cost the town to shift from a Tuesday morning town meeting day to a Saturday? And a related question, what would be the extra cost of a 5-member select board compared with a 3-member? Don't have to answer tonight, but I just want to know if those would be items that could be discussed at town meeting day or table it to another select board meeting down the road.
I mean, those are things that you could talk about in other business that's thought appropriate because it is a town interest. I don't know about the cost, but we do know that the town voted quite a few years ago to go to a Saturday, but because it is still school break, we actually had less people coming to town meeting. And I know that that really impacts people who are, we're not being as inclusive given it on a Tuesday like that. So I don't know what the answer is, but the populace voted to go back to Tuesdays back after a few years of Saturday when we had less people at town meeting than we did on Tuesdays.
I guess I would just respond to somebody who's worked for 6 or 7 towns in northwestern Vermont over 40 years. The ones that are the best are the ones that are the night before, when people can leave work or get done milking, usually. Now people don't do that. Somebody else is milking. The farmers aren't milking. But you have that meeting from 6 to 9:30. Then you have people show up. Saturday is like a sacred day for families. They're not going to, daddy and mommy are going to the meeting. I mean, that doesn't work for people. So, and as far as the stipends are so modest for selectmen, select board, that it would be virtually it would cost another $4,000 to have more people, 2 more people.
That's true.
So
Not quite.
Not
money,
quite.
money is not, I mean, okay, then he's got to put more things in the copier, but I had said when I ran a year ago that one of the things I wanted to do before my last term is up was to hold a forum in the center. I got sort of nominal agreement from Eric and Catherine that, yeah, maybe we could think about that, to just talk about a 5-person board, even a town manager. I don't have an opinion on either one particularly. And so that would be a really great point, but I don't think the Saturday is the way to go. That's just me.
I like the idea the night before, for what it's worth. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I agree Saturday would be tough, and especially tough on vacation week.
I think there are quite a few towns in Chittenden County that also do are on the night before. I know Williston does it the Monday night.
Yeah, Bristol's doing it Monday. Okay, so we're on to Article 2.
Article 2, do you want to take turns reading the articles or shall I just go on? So you don't hear me drone.
This is your moment in the sun, Catherine. Go ahead.
All right. Article 2 is, shall the voters approve $520,672 dollars of the $839,793 Underhill Jericho Fire Department budget for the purpose of providing the protection, suppression, emergency response services and certified first response services in the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during FY 2024. And I mean, they're subject to inflation and all the other pressures, but one of the biggest differences that's you see the jump in their budget is over the past few years, because they had a large reserve called paid salary, because when those paid positions were not filled, because the taxpayers had already voted to pay their budget, and if the positions were not filled, they put the money into the reserve fund, and they have been drawing that down over the past 3 years to keep their increases to a minimum. So now there is no large amount in there, so it's full freight. Article 3 and 4 and 5 are what Dave Barrington likes to call the boilerplate ones. Authorize the select board to borrow money, collect the taxes by the treasurer in accordance with 32 VSA section 4791. And we collect our taxes in equal installments on September 15th and March 15th with postmark acceptable. And usually he bundles those and voted all at once. And then we have different years. There are different properties up for being tax exempt, and this is for a 5-year period. This year it's Article 6. The premises known as the Jericho Center Preservation Association, which consists of 0.35 acres with the community center building and 1.77 acres, more or less, recreational acreage in Jericho Center for a period of 5 years. Article 7 is shall the town exempt for property taxation the lands and premises known as the Jericho Historical Society, which consists of the old mill building and 7.5 acres, a residential duplex, and the old bindery building, which I think it says for a period of 5 years. And it gives the acreage of each of those properties. Article 8 is shall the town exempt for property taxation the lands and premises known as the Mount Mansfield Lodge number 26, which consists of 0.33 acres, and the Mount Mansfield Lodge number 26 building for a period of 5 years. Article 9, shall the town exempt from property taxation the lands and premises known as the Winooski Valley Park District, which consists of 11.48 acres used for park for a period of 5 years. And Article 10 will be discussed by Dave Clift, and I don't know on town meeting day. And this is a non-binding resolution, but they would like to have a discussion about we, the citizens of Jericho, propose the formation of Jericho as a vital food hub for the citizens of its towns and environs. A food hub commission would be established with the goal of increasing food self-sufficiency via the production, manufacture, and distribution of local food. And that's the warning. Are there questions on any of those items?
There's 2 more, Catherine.
Oh, I missed the back, so sorry. Article 11 is the usual to hear the reports of the town officers, which people just vote on because it's in the town report. And Article 12, other town business thought proper when met. And that's, you could discuss anything that relates to town business or town issues in that. And it's just a non-binding, but a good discussion. And the other articles are all on Australian ballot. It's the moderator for 1-year term, town clerk for a 1-year term, select board member for a 3-year term, cemetery commissioner for a 3-year term, and to elect Jericho Underhill Library District trustee for a 4-year term, and an Underhill Park District trustee for a 3-year term. And then the big item is Mount Mansfield. Well, actually, they get 2 district board of directors for a 3-year term. And that's on the warning. Now, are there any questions? And thank you, Eric.
Well,
No questions?
Hide self-view, why can't we see the gallery?
I think we can close this hearing, unless there's someone else with their hand, someone with their hand raised.
Can't see other attendees.
click on the participants button at the bottom. I can see him. It's okay.
No hand? Oh, I see Bernie.
Bernie has it. Bernie has a hand up. I can look.
Okay, Bernie, go for it.
Hi, folks. Thank you. I apologize if I came in a little bit late. So I might, Catherine, I think you're just talking about at the time, the budget, the part about the garage. I think you said something about it needing some efforts, I guess. Was there any mention of the furnace as part of that, or is that too small of an element to bring in?
No, it's because it will be probably happen in this fiscal year.
Okay.
And so this is a budget for fiscal year 24. If the payment, it's one of those, whether it happens in June, it's fiscal year 23, but if that doesn't get paid for till 2024, then it'll be fiscal year 24. But we will mention it next year that had happened. Because right now we don't have any, we don't have the numbers on it at all right now.
Thank you.
It also came to light, Bernie, after I think the articles were a little too far along to modify, even if we had to, but,
Well,
But
we had no
I-
numbers either.
Right. Well, I was just wondering if if there was planning in place ahead of time, something that big of an expense, maybe that's just too small, but to have looking forward for elements that are that big and we know that they're near end of life, if there's some kind of process that puts them in the plan to say, even though it hasn't failed yet, we know that in the next year or two, we're probably going to have to replace this big unit or
I think that what is the case, that we are living on borrowed time with the present heating system, and we're probably going to have to do something. And then when it comes to more broadly issues around the highway department, we have to do an assessment. And so it's not like we've decided we're going to redo something. We just know it's time to step up to the plate and take a look at that building. But I don't think that the boiler is going to be able to wait for some kind of possible renovation project 6 years down the line. I just don't see that in the cards.
Well, and Bernie, we do pay attention to that because, not necessarily each specific item, but we do have a reserve fund called buildings. And that was started quite a few years ago when Todd was the administrator. And we periodically try to make sure we put money into the that particular, the building reserve fund, so that if something like this did come up, that there would be money available.
Okay, that answers that was my point, and you've answered my question. Thank you, Catherine.
Welcome.
Yeah, and after your last appearance at a last meeting, I think, at least I was hopeful that at least as a town, we were going to look into if there's any incentives for heating one way rather than another. I don't know if there's been any progress on that, but I know you made that point, and I just want to bring it up again. There may be some cost-effective way that we want to do the green thing and still be, still be able to bring an economy to this whole project of putting in new heat.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Adam can look into that, because Efficiency Vermont does have a program for advanced wood boiler systems. And there's a pretty substantial, depending on the size and stuff, a rebate that they can provide. And then there's the Municipal Efficiency Act. It's starting to be worked on. The first preliminary stuff is coming out. But Chittenden County is probably not going to get much money out of that, because it's really for people with high heating expenditures and low resources. Although there are towns within Chittenden County that could qualify. And these are municipal grants that could replace whole systems or weatherize buildings and things like that.
Well, of course, another aspect of it is that looking forward, the fossil fuels are, if we look at the state legislation that they're looking at right now, fossil fuels are most likely much higher before.
Yeah.
So that sort of, I would hope, be part of the equation. We may end up costing more upfront, but the ROI may be better even with that higher cost, I would think, possibly. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is the
Do we need to formally close this because it's a hearing, or no?
this is just an informational hearing. I don't think so, unless you open.
Okay.
Did you
No,
open it as a hearing?
you know better than I was just asking.
No, I mean, we certainly could do that. I don't know if you opened it as a hearing or not. I did, specifically.
No, let's just move on.
Okay. All right. The next thing, because we've had a discussion of the warning, it's to public to be heard. Is there anybody who has issues that they wish to discuss that is not on the agenda? Anybody has it? I don't see any. So I'm seeing all the Zoom people, correct?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay,
it.
so I don't see any hands. So I guess we're moving on. Next is Matt Champlin talking about an ARPA request or two.
Or three? All right, thank you for having me here this evening. So, yes, we did submit an ARPA request to both the town of Jericho and the town of Underhill.
I put it out.
With the aspect of trying to, both towns agree we'll split the cost the same way we do the budget. So the first request encompasses two things. It's various equipment that the fire department currently uses today that is 110 volt powered, requiring us to have generators on our trucks. They burn gasoline, or we have to have PTO generators on the trucks. Trucks are running, you have to run them at high idle, all those sorts of things. So we have submitted for a Fire Act grant for this. We submitted last year, we're not successful. We have resubmitted this year. It's not high on the Fire Act list to get these things, but it's the thing that we went after in a grant. And it's battery powered tools. So it's battery powered chainsaws, battery powered smoke ejector fans.
I think you mentioned this recently.
Battery powered sawzalls, it's all those things. We have placed an order for 2 new apparatus. Again, very similar to the town based upon lead time. They're a long way out. So we've ordered them. They're in the capital plan, but we've ordered them without generators. So we don't have the ability to take that 110 volt powered equipment off the trucks that are going away and put it on these trucks. So we have to start buying this battery powered stuff. We did that to try to get away, try to do the little part that we can with emissions and greenhouse gases and all those things. This stuff can all be charged in the station. While batteries, spare batteries on the truck, the longevity of this equipment now, contractors are using this type of stuff on a daily basis doing their work. That's the grade of equipment that we're looking to buy. And they go through 2 batteries a day and they're using it all day long. So, we're confident for what we need it for, that this equipment would work for us. We started this process. We have purchased some battery powered fans ourselves. Some of our gas ones needed repair. So we said, hey, rather than repair, we have some money at the end of the year here. We're going to go buy some. So we've done that. But this really is a package to get that complete set of equipment, right? All the sawzalls, get rid of the gas powered chainsaws, all the gas powered fans, all that stuff. And then included in that is a new set of rescue jacks. The rescue jacks are equipment that are used for heavy stabilization. So buses, trucks, heavy equipment. We do use them on cars. If you have a car on its side, we use that equipment to stabilize it. We have some older equipment. The last round of equipment we got in a grant, I think it was 12, 15 years ago, is pretty manually intensive to set up. The new equipment is really slick and easy. It's screw collars that lock in place easily. It's much quicker, it's much easier to set up. So we've included all that in our initial request. That amounts to about $44,000. And again, we'd split that, 62-38 with Underhill. And again, it would take both towns to agree to do that. And we do have this request into Underhill in their evaluation process. So that's the first piece.
And these things work for hour and at 10 below and it's 11:30 at night and you can still take out the chainsaw and it's not going to.
Yep. The
crap out on you.
You talk to the contractors, we have several contractors on our department. Todd Fisher's a, plumbing and heating guy and he uses his all day long, charges it at night. I've at Global Foundries, we have contractors using this type of equipment, battery powered all day long. They have one spare battery, they swap it out, they get through the day. No big deal. Construction sites, you can go see this equipment everywhere. The battery technology has really come a long way. It is, this is the commercial grade stuff. This is not, this is the more expensive pieces of equipment. But it is, it works well and it does last. So that's the first piece. So that totals $44,000. The second piece that we submitted earlier was a request for approximately $12,000 for a new radio repeater. Our repeaters are getting older in age. It's again $12,000. We don't have that built into the budget to replace. We did have one get struck by lightning, that was replaced under insurance. And it took us nearly, I want to say, it's been about a year to get it. So the lead time is significant. So we did ask for that. What we'd like to do is get one on order, get it here, and have it as a spare, in essence. Our radio contractors have told us that our current repeaters are getting tired. What does tired mean? I don't know, but you know, they are getting up there in age. Again, last time we replaced this was 10 years ago or so with a grant. So radio equipment hasn't come up for grant again. I expect that it will, because they expect radio equipment to get a 10-year life. But again, you know, that's, if it comes up, that's something that we'll go after, obviously, in grants. But you know, that's a piece that we would like to go ask for ARPA funding for, is to get a spare, get it here, get it ordered, get it here, so that way when we do have a problem, we have something to replace it quickly with. If the repeater on South Hill were to be damaged or fail, that is our primary system. The other repeaters that we have in the system are basically to talk to that one. If that one goes down and we can't get a quick replacement or a quick repair, we in essence have no radio communication within the community. We've never had a spare because we've never had the lead time problems that we have nowadays. So, and it's an expensive piece of equipment to sit on the shelf, you know, to buy it brand new and have it sit there when this stuff does last for quite a while. So that's the second request. The third request is a new one. I did send John this just the other day.
Yeah. it's distributed
This
this
is
year.
for some, any questions on either of those?
No,
Yeah,
I was
Right.
gonna say, Matt, you talked about the battery power equipment, you know, recently. Has that been built into the budget, or is that you were just thinking about it?
So we were thinking about it. It is things that we will build into the budget in the future if we don't get ARPA money for it. If we get ARPA money for it, then, you know, we won't include it in the budget.
Okay,
Basically the way it's going to work.
okay.
So, so the third piece is something that has come upon us in the last month and a half. Vermont State Police has switched to digital frequency. We did upgrade our dispatch radio in the station. We upgraded the radio in our Squad 51, which is what the full-time staff uses as their primary vehicle. That's our first out vehicle. And the latest two apparatus that we purchased, we did buy radios in those that had the digital capability. All of our other trucks, the 5 remaining trucks, do not have radios that have digital capability. 2 of those trucks are scheduled for replacement soon, so we won't do anything with those. The other 3 trucks are going to be around for a while, and we were looking to upgrade those radios to digital capable radios so we could hear and talk to state police. Car crashes, you know, going to something, you know, an explosion someplace, going to a house fire, going to EMS calls, those sorts of things. Being able to hear VSP sometimes is invaluable, and being able to communicate with them without having to go through another dispatcher or on the phone or something like that, you know, saves time, increases safety for us. So that's about $4,000 a truck. So that would be another $12,000 request, and that includes the installation and everything.
So there's 44 and 12 and 12.
Well, yes. And I'll take anyone,
This is 4.
and I'll take anyone I can get.
Doesn't this say 4?
Mine says 4, but he
That's
just
for
said
one,
12.
that's for one system. That's for one truck.
Oh,
Multiply that by 3.
3 at the bottom of that.
The old, give them one, but we need 4.
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing you.
This is the quote that I could get quickly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, thank you. You know, obviously we'll take this under advisement and work with Underhill. Because right now we're just taking requests.
Sure.
Do you have any sense of what Underhill's timeline is?
I do not. I know we submitted it to them. I've got to go get the truck radio replacement to them. I haven't sent that to them. I did send it to Brad. There's a form that we filled out. I don't know if it's too late for Underhill to consider that one at this point. I have not heard back from Brad holding yet on that. So. But I know they've got their ARPA committee that is considering it. So,
Well, these are all related to safety.
Yep.
They are not, let's get a smoker for the barbecue kind of thing. Their equipment. So I look upon this real favorably, but I guess if we want to deliberate about it separately, we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna, Brad and John are gonna be talking soon, so we can wait and see what, Underhill has and then make the decision then. Well,
Okay, well, I'll just state for the record, I look upon this request
is the battery
favorably.
powered equipment.
I've seen that.
Okay, so that's a copy of the battery powered equipment and the mobile repeater,
Great.
not the mobile repeater, the repeater.
Thanks,
quotes.
Mike.
I did have one question about the
Yeah.
repeater. You said basically you're looking to get one of those so that you have a spare. So if something happens, like, yes, it was covered by insurance, but it doesn't help you while it's out.
The
But
one,
you
the
said-
one that was covered by insurance was because it was struck by lightning. If we have one just fail.
Right,
There's,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, but you mentioned that there's a main repeater.
correct.
The backup be able to replace that? main
Yes.
repeater
Yes.
And any of the other ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're interchangeable.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, we would take the one that was just replaced by a lightning strike and move it up there. But that leaves a hole in the Route 117 area of
Right, I
radio
gotcha.
coverage.
So you can use them
Right.
wherever. It's just the location that makes it the primary.
Correct.
Gotcha.
That's the one that provides us the best coverage.
Yeah.
So. That's the highest point that we can get an antenna on in town.
Did you say there's one on 117?
So we have a repeater on Orr Road.
Oh.
That is tall enough that it covers the 117 corridor
Oh.
for us.
Really?
Let's keep that one covered, that corridor covered.
Yep, that's the idea. Yep, bottom of Skunk Hollow. We have a
Bottom
pretty,
of Arbor
we have a
Fire.
pretty complex radio system that we got underneath the grant. And a single taller tower in town would make the radio system smaller and easier to use, but we are where we are. We have what we have, and we've built that out over the years to get the coverage so we don't have dead spots in town. Those dead spots with radios are the same dead spots with cell phones. So you get in there and you really just have no coverage.
So let me know if you need a silo or something to stick that in. It's a little higher. Yeah.
So,
Scoping silo.
okay.
well,
Thank
thank you,
All
Matt.
right.
I-
We'll
We
see you guys
appreciate
next Tuesday.
your request.
Yep.
Great.
Go from there.
Look forward to having you back.
Thanks, Matt.
I mean,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you all know, I did confer briefly with Brad Holden. He confirmed that ARPA committee allocations in Underhill have not been determined, as Matt said. And I think, again, the expectation would be that any of these costs would be shared proportionally between the two communities.
All right, thank you.
It is noteworthy, though, without beating a dead horse.
Well,
It's
that's true.
noteworthy that of the ARPA proposals that we have received, this is the only one specific to safety.
That's true. That's true. And it is an important kind of thing. I mean, because it's also like energy efficient to use the battery powered ones anymore.
Yeah.
Transformational.
And it makes our life makes our life easier on the scene, right? We don't have a bunch of cords across the ground,
Yeah.
right? You can walk around the car with a Sawzall doing your work and not have to worry about dragging the cord or getting someone tripping somebody or getting it out of the way of the stretcher or, whatever else is going on.
Getting electrocuted.
You're not
Oh,
really
that's
using a Sawzall that's corded, are you?
Yes,
You're dragging a,
They
Yes.
run it off the generator.
yes. We run it off a generator on the truck,
but you've got a 100-foot extension cord that you're running. Oh my God.
built into the truck.
It's dark, it's cold, and they're running an extension cord with a
And it-
Sawzall on the end.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Melt an extension cord like that, right?
Yeah, when you said that, I'm literally like, I can't imagine even owning a corded.
So we got rid of our quote unquote corded expectation tools a few years back with a grant. Right, so we now have the battery powered Jaws of Life.
Yeah.
We were able to obtain those through a grant and that has greatly improved.
Right.
Hydraulic hoses are a little harder to manipulate than an extension cord, but yes. So, you know, but the jaws of life don't do everything for us.
Yeah.
There's still a need for those sawzalls to get a quick extrication.
Yeah.
Fascinating part is when you get all this, you hope you never have to use it.
Yeah.
Train like heck and never use it. That's the plan.
Right. Well, thank you again.
Glass is another challenge. That's all there is. So battery sawzalls fix that too.
Wow. Well, thank you again.
Welcome.
Next is the Jericho Diversity, Equity, and Inclusive Charter Update and Declaration of Inclusion Statement. That says SJ, but I don't see SJ. So is it Wendy that's going to speak on this?
Yes, it's I actually thought I was just talking about the charter change,
Oh, okay. Well, then fine.
but
Well, the charter change, it just says state declaration of inclusion, but you know, I think what we.
I missed
do
that
have
part.
We do have the charter change, you know, to include the language.
yeah,
So I think that's the primary thing to talk about.
yeah, that was the primary thing. Would you like me to provide some context for the request?
Yes, please.
All right.
That way people can understand what, you know, we're talking about here, and, you know, I think it reads even better.
Yes, and so was that published to the website as well as part of the materials for this meeting, or should I?
We have, Wendy, we have SJ's email
Okay.
outlining the 2 items for select board review.
Okay, great. So there's 2 changes that the committee is proposing, and that those changes resulted primarily as resulting from research from new members that were appointed after the initial charter was written, and then subsequent conversation among all the members. So the first change is the addition of the term socioeconomic status to the goal statement. And that change was as a result of a conversation by Robert Harnish from the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. A committee member asked Mr. Harnish to review the charter, and Mr. Harnish suggested that we include that term in addition to the other kinds of identities that are listed in that statement. And this will bring Jericho's charter in line with recommendations from the League of Cities and Towns, as well as most other town charters that have DEI committees, and it will be more congruent with both the organization and other towns. So the second change is added to the structure section of the charter. And after some discussion, committee members wanted to make just a more explicit connection between how committee members are appointed. And we wanted to make a connection to the actual process of appointing committee members to the mission statement. So that's why we added a more detail about membership and how we should be more intentional about doing outreach to underrepresented identities. And we were explicit in listing those. And then additionally, we currently have 2 high school students, Jericho high school students, as committee members. And we really wanted to make that more of an institutional requirement or structure of the committee rather than just sort of happenstance. And so we added here that the youth perspective is critical to get a full picture of community experience. For this reason, that the committee would like to reserve at least 2 positions for youth representatives at all time. And I think, you know, having high school students or youth on the committee the DEI committee is pretty unique among all of Jericho's other committees. And it's this invaluable perspective of having these folks join us. And so we wanted to put that in the charter itself. So those are the 2 changes.
Thank you. So because it's the charter change, the select board approves the charter, so we could approve the changes tonight if people are interested, wish to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want more discussion on it, but I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the changes to the Town of Jericho Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee.
I'd second that.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion
I
passes.
should have asked this before, but that still keeps the range between 5 and 7 persons, Wendy?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it does.
that's what I thought. Thanks.
Yeah, I like the changes. I thought they were really good. And as you said, much more definitive about what you're trying to, what kind of members should be encouraged.
And I agree with your thinking on the high school students. I think that's huge. I mean, it's just, it really gives it a window that we wouldn't, we don't have. Well, I don't have view into that yet. I suppose I will have a little bit of a view to it in a couple of years, but I don't have any view right now into what goes on.
I will next year.
The agenda says and declaration of inclusion, but based on the our materials, it said what is going to happen is that the committee is going to approve the language of a Jericho Declaration of Inclusion at their March 6th meeting, and are going to try to present it to the select board as soon as March 16th.
Yes,
And-
that makes more sense. Yes.
And then founding members of the statewide inclusion initiative will be invited to participate in the presentation to the select board. So that sounds very exciting. So that's great. Next on the agenda is select board updates. And I have a couple updates myself. So I'll go first since I'm up here. The first one is about a dozen people turned out for the Jericho Energy Task Force showing of Kiss the Ground. And Reed Sims, our task force member, led the after movie discussion and questions session. And the movie was well received and the discussion was lively. In fact, the consensus was it's one of the few movies about climate change that actually felt hopeful to the people. In terms that there was something that that actions could be taken to mitigate climate change. They're also quite interested in learning more about regenerative agriculture. And the longer one is last night, the RPC's executive committee, there was quite a discussion in the legislative updates section that we do on the S-100. And that's the giant housing bill. And it's worked its way out of the Senate Committee on Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. So it now is in the Natural Resources. And based on the discussions, the hope is to have that big bill out on the Senate floor and passed before crossover.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, and it's very ambitious. It's a 53-page document for legislation, and it covers a multitude of housing issues, including reducing parking requirements in areas with year-round residential development. Duplexes shall, they're introducing the word shall be an allowed use with the same dimensions standards as a single unit dwelling. And then the bylaws for single family homes with ADUs should not be more restrictive than single family homes with no ADUs. And then that's providing there's wastewater capacity and you don't exceed 30% of the total habitable floor area of a single home or 900 square feet, whichever is larger. There's also, if there's municipal water and sewer, lot and building dimension standards shall allow 5 or more. They're even talking 4 or more. So they're really talking 5 units per acre. There's going to be changes to the appeals of the DRB, bylaw amendments, elements in the town plan, energy requirements, but the kind of exciting part of it is it's going to provide $300,000 to the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies for the purpose of hiring housing navigators. And that they're going to work with municipalities, the regional and local housing organizations, and private developers to identify housing opportunities, match communities with funding resources, and provide project management support, which is huge. And the bill contains so much more, it's worth noting, but as it moves through the House, it may not look quite the same. Because the Senate bill has Act 250 actions in it as well, and the House doesn't want to work on Act 250 this year because they want to do a major update of Act 250 next year. But that's pretty exciting, the idea of housing navigators that can help municipalities work on projects, including finding funding resources, as well as providing project management and things like that, where we might need more expertise.
Did either the state economists or any private developers weigh in on any of that bill?
Right now, it sailed through the other one. It was passed unanimously, as I understand it, out of that one committee. So it was not talked about whether if developers had weighed in on it.
I mean, one would imagine that if the net effect of this is it makes it easier to build housing, then developers in general might be in favor of it.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that's the product that we end up getting, but if that's the case, that would be really exciting.
Yeah, that's one of the stated goals of this particular bill, is to incentivize housing and make it easier to do housing in your growth areas. Focusing.
Did the governor weigh in on that bill? I can't recall that he has.
I don't think he has yet, because there is the difference with the House on the Act 250 stuff. So I think he's waiting.
Yeah.
But he does support the idea of making it easier to build housing, particularly to make it more affordable. So it was very exciting discussion. So I thought I'd pass that along because it could help us down the road.
Wonderful.
Anybody else wish to update?
You got any?
I don't think I have any.
I just have, I don't really have anything to talk about tonight, except that I continue to look at this ARPA stuff, that slideshow.
Mhm.
I'm feeling that we need to be prepared when it comes to that last article on the warning to update people on ARPA and
Oh, yeah.
as well as any recent purchases by the town of Jericho. And
That's
I think
probably
we
good.
need to be prepared to address those, whether we actually do them or not. But I think it would behoove us. And how often do you get to use the word behoove?
I like
It would
that.
behoove us
That's a good word.
to just be prepared for that. If you get cable, as I do, clearly Richmond and Underhill have a very formal process in their ARPA deliberations. We're grateful that the JPC and the Affordable Housing Committee did some of the heavy lifting so far for us. But I think it would be a reasonable question for citizens to wonder, what is the process and what's going forward?
That's true. I mean, because the first half, we had those two major surveys, which delineated the major
Yeah.
projects that they wish to work on. And so that was good. And that gave us the impetus to do what we have already been able to do. And then these other actions, because Underhill's also been asked to help, as you said, with the Mills Riverside Park parking lot, which is a very important
Oh,
thing
right.
for our farmers market and things like that too. So we have
So one of the challenges we may have, and then I'll be through, is in prepping for this meeting where we're entering the age of electronics finally after our carbon paper years for all this time, is having the right pieces of software that probably it'll largely fall to John to seamlessly pull up a spreadsheet And then to pull up a PowerPoint or, whatever the list is we need as we
Yeah.
walk through the articles.
You give me a list. I mean, I'm gonna be in Marlow
My cough again.
either
I laugh.
tomorrow or my wife can give me a run through because she uses all the electronics around the house.
I mean, I'm wondering if it would be worth you putting in one file, you walk down the list, okay, Article 1, I get this, okay, then I'm Article 2, I'm gonna need this. And they're all like stacked
Yep.
and
Yeah.
sort of vetted, so that when you're actually up there, you're not like, it's gotta be here somewhere, it just might be.
So clarify the article piece.
Well, when we do article, whatever the budget article is, we're gonna need to pull up some representation of the budget.
Oh, sure. Yep.
And then
That's
when
on
we
the
get
list.
to, ARPA's not till later on, but then there may be other items like, Jericho Community Center, although we don't need anything for that. But if we did,
Gotcha.
I gotta get that picture of the center already.
So the easy part will be, and I clarified this afternoon.
The fire department,
Yes,
their
fire
budget.
Department budget. I've got all of that. The easy part will be is it's merely a function of projecting it. The town meeting is not interactive,
Right.
so people aren't going to be zooming in. There's no need to screen share. So it's
No, but if you're from the audience, you're gonna want, but you're right. I think that's really
people in
good
the
that
audience can see.
we're just live streaming. That's all we're doing, because that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, and it'll also be evident, the screen in the auditorium will be evident to the camera folks for Mount Mansfield Public Television, who in turn will be transmitting to people watching from home. So it should be.
Well, that's terrific.
Should be relatively straightforward.
Oh,
It'll be
good.
Live stream.
Now, do we have any Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts coming to do the
Pledge
pledge?
of Allegiance? I do not know.
Oh, yeah, the other thing is, do we have
Might be
childcare?
worth, I mean, people like that stuff.
Sure. Say again, Catherine?
I said, the other thing is, do we have childcare this year? Because in the past, we've had childcare from the Mount Mansfield Leos.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if they're doing it anymore because it all
Boy,
was,
if that was my responsibility. This is the first time hearing about
I
it.
doubt it was Todd's responsibility, so relax
really?
easy.
it was probably Paula's, I mean, because we had used them for, because I had initially, the Leos were looking at fundraisers and
I can reach out to Will Wright and see what, if
Yeah.
anything, he knows. Yeah,
because it
I've
was
had-
his daughters that were in the Leos, so it was easy for him to because he ran the Leos.
right. Easy for him to appoint his daughters.
Yeah.
You're
Plus other friends-
deputized.
Other
I can-
friends, and so
I can
after
confirm they're well-qualified babysitters.
after the first year, then it became a routine, and no, I didn't think about it, and you're right, I'm not sure Todd did. It was probably Paula who had been thinking about it, but because we haven't had it in 2 years, it has one of those things that kind of fall through the cracks.
Yeah, Paula, full disclosure, Paula and I saw each other for about a total of 3 hours on Tuesday prior to her departure, and she made no mention of it. So at this point, I'm going to assume that there's nothing in place, but I can drop her a text and see.
Yeah, maybe we can pull something together at the last minute if they're available, but who knows, because people do grow up and move on.
Right.
But-
I do have a few pieces of business and announcements I wanted to relay. Primary in the last week was the meeting that we had with Essex Rescue. So in the wake of the rather lengthy article published in 7 days around the challenges for EMS services statewide, Essex Rescue was used as kind of a local example of what the financial stressors have been, what the HR stressors have been. I think we acknowledged a number of those when going through the budget. I think the news to me really was how pervasive it is in EMS services across the state. The budget increases that our communities have been asked to bear are not unique. again, I don't know the exact extent or percentages. The meeting that we had with all the communities within the Essex Rescue catchment was really productive. I think they, they understand that the select board, town administrator, town manager representatives are there because they are responsible for the fiduciary, basically fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers in our municipalities for and the transparency and reporting where those increases are coming from, what's being selectively done to address them, and what kinds of plans are being discussed moving forward. We got to discussion of some of the conditions that we had formally presented in our letter, asking for an audit, asking for an operational audit, and asking for representation for a representative from each municipality on the Essex Rescue Board of Directors. And I think it was well received. I think the tenor of the conversation, which started off kind of tenuous and maybe a little defensive, a little bit concerned around having the fox in the hen house kind of thing, really became an affirmation of our want, being the communities they serve, to work with them in a functional way to make sure that they're the best they can be and that they have the resources they need. Moving forward, there's lots of conversation about creating at least a county-wide system, if not a statewide system, and those could be eventualities. But for the here and now, until we have an understanding as to what direction those initiatives will go, we're going to continue advocating for transparency, local involvement by our towns, and doing what we can to get them on solid footing. It was really productive. We're gonna be meeting monthly moving forward, and I'll continue to report back. Linda and the folks from CCRPC, our project manager, Cy Sarapalli, and representatives from the Department of Transportation had a renewed kickoff meeting for the sidewalk project in the Riverside area. We had a similar meeting about a month back. It was brought to Cy's attention that representatives from the Agency of Transportation should have been included, and not including them was an oversight. All were in attendance today. Everything is moving forward. Another thing I wanted to highlight, if folks weren't able to attend, the Planning Commission hosted a public information session on the scoping study currently underway, exploring the development of a multimodal path between the Riverside area and Jericho Corners. I personally haven't been to a better attended public information session. The conference room here was packed. I think we had more than 30 people. And not only was there a large amount of support for whatever the project becomes, there's a lot of really thoughtful, productive, well-articulated concerns that were raised, alternative suggestions that may not have yet been explored. And of course, some people who have very specific are very specifically opposed to one or another alternative as they exist. And again, the the discussion revolved around the Route 15 corridor, the railroad bed, and there was a lot of interest and discussion about what potentiality Raceway Road and having a path along Raceway Road might offer. So yeah, I just wanted to,
That sounds good.
just wanted to go on the record and publicly acknowledge how great an experience and dialogue that was. And last but not least, and
That'll be important later on. It sounds like it was largely a constituency that liked the concept, which is
Yeah.
different than the actual build out.
right.
But when time comes to put a shovel in the ground, one hopes that constituency will show up and say, and maybe they need to be contacted by Linda or whatever, just in passing as a heads up, that now is the time. We want to do this thing you were enthused about a year and a half ago, and now it's time to help us, make it happen. Because that sounds very positive, what you're
Yeah.
saying.
It was, and I think there was a lot of clarity, as most people know, there had been a study done for a multimodal path, particularly along the Route 15 corridor. There may still be value there. There had been a grant application for development of that path, and the town hadn't received that. So this is kind of a reimagining of how it'll be stitched together and what can be done to present a higher quality grant proposal in the future. I think there's lots of hope, lots of enthusiasm, and most importantly, really thoughtful and civil dialogue.
In fact, John, the town had applied for multiple grants on
So
the,
has there been more than one?
oh yeah, different segments.
Uh-huh.
Trying to get a segment started so that that we could at least show that we were starting something. But the state said no to any of the sections.
Oh, I'm seeing, I'm sorry, Catherine, Susan has a hand raised and I didn't see her out there.
Just
Okay, Susan?
Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you, John. That was a great summary. Yeah, I think we had 80 some odd people participate in that meeting.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, I was thinking about just the people in the room. I forgot
Yeah.
about all the
80,
Zoomers.
80?
I think it was like 83 or 78.
Holy
If you
mackerel.
take out MMC TV and our recording secretary and so forth. Linda actually did a great job getting people there. She reached out to Local Motion. She had someone there from AOT. She sent postcards or letters to every single person who owns a piece of property along the one or two, I think the two alternative locations. But I wanted to add in one takeaway that I had from the meeting that I think the select board might want to think about long-term, is that I was surprised that it's almost like the elephant in the room is that people are starting to feel that that section of Route 15 should no longer be a no man's land that people just race through, mostly trucks, to get from one side to the other. While there was definitely support for the pathways and being able to walk and bike, it's almost like the elephant in the room, not the real issue, but a companion issue, is that there seemed to be hunger and an appetite for that portion of Route 15 to not just be abandoned to whatever the hell the state wants to do with it, and that people felt ownership and pride of place, like this is right smack in the middle of our town, and how are we ever going to make it safe if we can't make the road safe? So obviously that's outside the scope of this project, but I took away from that from the planning commission, and as we're working on the town plan, to surface that conversation to try to maybe get some longer term thinking and plans, and maybe a study next year about improving the corridor with traffic calming. Of course, you know, people want to bury the power lines because it ruins the views of the mountains, and it just bodes well. We talked a little bit in the meeting about how as the commercial district develops, as there's more housing, as there's more business in that location, it'll naturally, V-Trans will start to look at it differently. And it was interesting that that seems like the consensus view is that will happen, that should happen, and therefore the nature of the road there really needs to change.
Wow, that's not an old view. That's
So,
really something to hear.
Yes, I thought it was a strategic shift. Which I'm kind of previewing a little bit of in the town plan, you know, we talk about the village center separated by rural countryside. And I'm circling around a different concept, which is more like 3 village centers connected by neighborhoods, which is a subtle but profound shift when you think about planning and zoning, and that Route 15 corridor would be a really essential component.
Well, as you well know and remember, there was this fiction that we wanted to continue, which was that Riverside and Jericho Corners were 2 different spots, and we want a whole lot of woods in between. And it was so patently false. But I think in terms of planning over the last 20 years, we tried really hard to keep those 2 things separate. And, you know, there may be enough newer people in town with a slightly different vision, and they're ready to tackle that head on. That's really interesting.
very interesting. Well, thank you, Susan. That was really
Sure. Thank you.
very
Yeah,
useful.
thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
And Wayne, you gave away my last announcement, which is that Fletcher began on the 23rd. So we are now up
Oh.
to a stealth force of 5 in our road crew,
All right.
with another hire on the horizon. And it couldn't have come at a better time. I think the road crews had a really busy week. It's been interesting. There hasn't been a lot of snow, but there's been small amounts. You know, black ice. There's
Yeah.
been
Messy
It was a
stuff.
little
Yeah.
slippery just on the way here tonight.
yeah.
Yeah.
The road crews had a real busy week, and Fletcher couldn't have come on board at a better time from Adam's perspective.
That's great.
That's great. I mean, because now they're talking, you know, like 5 to 10 or more inches of snow over Friday to Saturday.
We're getting all our January snow in March, I guess.
It's coming
guess.
up again.
Still seems like we're not getting much snow.
I know.
Just feels like wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll still get a couple big dumps before the end of April or something.
We could.
Well, and it was a very warm February, following a fairly, you know, above normal January. So, yeah, you're going to expect more and more crap weather, which makes it tougher on the road crew rather than just some nice snow. So you have finished your updates as well? Anybody have any other things to say then on
That's it.
business updates?
That's it from me, Catherine.
Okay, well, that means we approve the minutes of 2/16/23.
I actually read them this time, Catherine. I'd just like to go ahead and pat myself on the back for actually reading them ahead of time this
Oh,
time.
good.
But I didn't find anything. I'm guessing you probably did though.
Yeah, line 223. It says Catherine said on February 19th, and since this was already February 16th, it was supposed to be the reception for the artist is on March 19th. So cross out February, put in March.
Sorry, Catherine, line number again?
223.
Yep.
And then, so I can just remind you again that, you know, March 19th, we're gonna have artist reception. But the important part is that line 247 and on, how many lines it is that Eric Johnson moved to exit executive session at 9:15. Wayne House seconded. The motion passed 3-0. No action was taken. And then let me know when you're done. I'll do the next part.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes
Oh, you went,
As
okay, I didn't
needed.
realize that, because normally John says, wait a minute, I haven't got it done.
No, I think I'm good. Do you have another?
Yes, because then you have to say Eric Johnson moved to adjourn at 9:15, Wayne seconded, and the motion passed 3-0.
Eric Johnson.
Felt early.
Oh, very good, you tricked me.
To adjourn.
Can I second the motion now, or do you have to remake
Yes,
it?
now you
Alright.
can do it.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will raise my hand. Yep.
And with that, I will make a motion to go into executive session for the reasons of legal and personnel and prior disclosure to which would be detrimental to the parties involved. I do have a question on that motion. Is there anyone we need to invite to that session?
Yes, Uncle T.
So I would request that Tom Dowd attend the executive session. So if you don't mind hanging on the Zoom, Catherine and Tom, assuming I guess.
All right. Well, thank you very much for everyone who came tonight. Appreciate all the good comments we've had.
Technically, we need a second.
I
before-
second.
All right.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.